Hello, welcome to the Reframing Mindset podcast. We are clear my head of the thoughts that are preventing clarity, practice my speech, among other things. Episodes range from informative knowledge to funny stories about my experiences, and in the future, maybe include interviews. So subscribe and enjoy. Episodes drop every other day. Okay, and welcome back to Reframing Mindset podcast. My name is Constant Brooks. This episode is one of those things again. To say, it's something that I was told and I saw, and it was one of those things that I'm gonna come. What I guess what I will mention will kind of make sense in another episode as well. But one thing I realized, and one thing about the podcast is, I can just basically like document some of my dreams turn into reality. Because after a while, I can kind of forget how long that how long that dream actually took to came true. And why I say that is that perspective. Like what I realize is what I realize is that you know how long, and I mentioned this before in an episode previously. Like you can't forget how long it actually takes you to actually get a blessing, and how fast you can actually lose it. And it's one of those things where going you know someone that one of my family member passing, it's really it's really weird in the sense that I grew up and know this person for so long, and then it's like when she's gone, it's like she's a stranger. I can't just I can't really I can imagine stuff about it, but it's like I can't really pinpoint it. Can't really pinpoint the actual. There's nothing like the actual living thing. And that's it. One of the things where I guess in the race now at this moment, using my knowledge, the AI versus human thing. That's that's the thing that AI hasn't, artificial intelligence hasn't really get the essence of yet the actual person. You can't the person knowledge their experiences, because my family member lived a long time, so she experienced a lot, and she helped me through one of the worst period of my life that actually could help me to actually help a lot of people else. And then she actually went through that as well. So it's like that essence, yeah, I can't really take that, and then when that body of uh experience, everything just gone, it's just empty. It's like a big tree actually just being cut down. How long that tree took to grow that high, and then you just cut it down. And it's like, bro. So it's that, yeah. So that's the thing. That's the thing about it. It's like, bro, please, like, yeah, that really kind of put things into perspective. And one thing I like about this podcast is that, you know, this episode I reached way over 200 episodes by now, and it's kind of in order and such. And what happens that as my dream manifests, some part of the podcast actually manifested the dream before I started the podcast. Some of them I actually projected it out, and then now I'm just manifesting it, and then everything. So it's like the podcast kind of documents various version of things and such. And then what happens is that you can actually the podcast can actually use it as a reference to see how long it took me to actually get the blessing, and and then at some point in time you can actually see how fast I lose it, and then the podcast can give you that perspective to be like, okay, that's how that's how life is, so that you can actually be like, okay, yes, that's all. That's all life is. You know what, you can take a long while to actually get a blessing, and then boom, something goes wrong. Something simple can lose a blessing in an instant, and then it takes you a long while to actually get another blessing like that. So that's so that's one of the, I guess that is one of the start of I guess my contribution to this world. With the time I have, because I think about it. We all can't live forever in the theoretical sense, not in the biblical sense. We have the chance to actually go have eternal life, but it's not. Yeah, if we were to explain how, it would make sense as in the podcast. You that's actually see it, and then you understand it. But in the podcast, we kind of get. And I use the podcast to see how much I learn along the way. And then you know, in hindsight, then you can understand how you know we get eternal life, because now, yeah, my faith has not really gone, in the sense that it's just like one of those bad periods, like everything else, like a low point, losing someone that actually got you into the faith and stuff, and it really tests your faith a lot, and it's like, bro, you know, and it's like, yeah, but you just have to, like one of the Bible verses, you just have to hold on to that vision. You just have to hold on, because you know there's a vision that, to put in another perspective, when she's gone, I think she's fulfilled her vision, and her time and place in this earth. And she, if you listen to the episode, you understand that she actually accomplished what she prayed for. She got what she prayed for. I know, and guess old age, it gets tarry. It gets tarry, and the fact that we're not that rich, so it's not, to maintain it is not, um it wasn't going to get easy. So it's just time is like, I mentioned that, and what happened is that same thing again with, like, for example, Rockefeller. I mentioned that before. And I read in a story that Rockefeller, richest family at the time, or he could not save his son, because he never have enough time to actually get the. You have a lot of money, but you never have time to actually. They never find a cure. They never had a cure for the disease that killed his son at the time. I think it was tuberculosis or something like that. That's one of the things where you have to realize, like, bruh, money can't buy life, and you can't actually extend. No matter how you try, you can kind of extend life for a while, but at this point, old age is a thing, and death is death in the normal sense is actually, um a thing, and I can't avoid it. They just one other thing, you have to appreciate the time that you have with the person, because when they're gone, they're gone, they're gone, and you're just gonna live with the regret, be like, oh yes, I wish I did that and stuff like that. No, you have to actually just take advantage the time you have with the person, because you never know when it's the last time. And that is also documented in the podcast as well. Various crushes or stuff like that I had. You never know the last time you're actually gonna, when you try to play around with it, and then it got serious, and then boom, they it broke off, and be like, oh my gosh. And be like, and I would be like, okay, just a phase. It just needs to actually cool off, and then over time, I use charm to actually maybe come back to, start from scratch again. Then you realize that, okay, it broke off forever. It got blocked on everything, and be like, oh, so you have to actually move on. And that's the thing where I be like, oh, so that's it. That's the thing about life. It takes your blessings can take a while to come. That girl or crush you have, it can take a while to actually get that crush like you, and then boom, you, one instant you do something stupid, and boom, you lose it all forever. So that's it. The podcast documents everything like that. So you get a full perspective of how the life is. So this is like my like a miniature Bible, you know, like a miniature Bible, but we don't come close to the Bible. But it's just my life. It's just my life. That's But yeah, that's basically for this episode. You know, thank you for listening. I look forward for our next episode. Yeah.
Well, this is the end of the episode. Thanks for watching and look forward for the next episode. To support this podcast, go to anchor.fm/cssb/support or become a sponsor for this episode. If you have a product that you want to have more exposure, DM me on the Instagram page, Reframing Mindset Podcast, or on Twitter at ReframingP. Either way would help. Thank you regardless for listening, and here's a preview for the next episode.
Since it's Father's Day, I know when this episode is released, it would not be um Father's Day. But I'm recording it on Father's Day so that when as there will be a next Father's Days. So it might as well use this Father's Day to actually reminisce on how when eventually I'll be celebrating that. You know, if you have to start plan. You have to start plan because if you listen to the podcast, you go in the plan and execution, and unforeseen things happen. But if you don't plan for it, then you have something that is called unplanned parenthood, and then what happens is that you go back into the cycle of poverty.